everyone. Welcome. We're here with Dan Olsen. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing amazing now that I'm here with you, James. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We're so glad to have you. And one of the reasons that we have you here today is to ask you the question, how fast can I make money in a franchise?
Well, that's a good question because franchising is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I don't know of any get-rich-quick scheme that is really of value, that's consistent, but franchising can make you some really good money. But it also depends on the type of franchise, how quickly you can make that money. I've seen people in food franchises open those up and they start generating income almost immediately because they're open and people are now coming into the food franchise and they're experiencing that and they tell others about it. It just continues to grow. I've seen other service type franchises that take a little bit longer, sometimes several months to get to that positive cash flow because you've got to build up that client base. The other types of franchises I've seen very successful are the home-based franchises because there's basically no overhead. And so as soon as you bring that first client on board, you're profitable from that point forward usually because the overhead is very, very small and the startup cost is very, very small. So it just really kind of depends, James, on which one you choose. But there's all kinds of different ways to look at franchises.
Oh, 100%, Dan. And I think what people would also be interested in is especially as a beginner, is there a specific type of franchise that they should be going into, whether it is service or the food industry? Is there one that you recommend for someone who, a type of franchise for someone that is looking to generate cash flow very quickly?
So that's excellent because there's two different types of franchises they're categorized into. Number one is a brick and mortar, and that's where you've got to find your location, sign the lease, and order your equipment, get everything set up, hire your employees, and then open your doors. And that often takes several months to go through that process. The other type of franchise is a non-brick and mortar where you're operating out of a small office or your home office. Those are the types that you can get started very, very quickly. So in other words, you sign the franchise agreement after you've done your due diligence and you feel good about it, and then you go through your training, and boom, you're ready to go almost next day, so that you can start generating cash flow depending on the franchise you choose and the model that you have. But in many cases, you can start generating cash flow very quickly out of your home. So it depends on the type of investment you're looking for and what type of business you want to have. So the brick and mortar franchises, they may take a little bit longer to get opened and get that cash flow coming in, but oftentimes you can operate those semi-absentee owned, which means that you can continue to work your job or continue to work in other business or other investments and spend a few hours a week in your investment, in your franchise to make sure it's moving forward properly and then kind of move away a little bit more from it. That's the semi-absentee owned model. Then you have more of the home-based small office again, where you are the operator. So you become the operator. You're the one that's going to be actually getting the clients, bringing them on board. Then at some point you may be able to hire that out, but usually it's you starting out bringing those clients on board because you've got a very low overhead type franchise that can produce some cash flow fairly quickly.
That's awesome, Dan. So with this, would you recommend anyone buying a pre-existing franchise location? Or would you recommend people not to do that and to start with their own?
Yeah, it's nice to have that existing cash flow. And so if you can find a good franchise that already is up and running, it has the cash flow moving forward, those are great models to have. So you can look into the numbers, you can look at the royalties, you can look at a lot of different things. What I like about existing franchises, they have to prove their numbers. And so unlike in a business that's unaffiliated with a franchise company, that's just an independent business, you can't necessarily know that those numbers are correct. With a franchise, you have a better chance of knowing that those numbers are correct. And so you can verify those and have something that's of value to analyze as you move down the road in acquiring that business. So I like to buy existing franchises, but they're sometimes few and far between. So in that case, the best thing to do is acquire the new franchise, get it started, get it up and running, and then as other franchisees surrounding you decide they want to sell, you're in first position to acquire those existing franchises.
That's excellent strategy, Dan. Really a great way. And I think that there might be some people that are daunted in beginning a franchise, especially if they're looking for cash flow quickly. What would be a place that they can go and that in searching for a location and getting an evaluation and all these different kind of questions, especially about finding which franchise and how to proceed, where can they get this information from?
The best information that I've ever come across is from what we've produced and what we've put together. Is we have high-level advisors who are very experienced. They've been through the challenges of franchise ownership. They know which ones are the best. They've vetted them out for you so that you don't have to do that. So I would suggest you click on the link below and use one of our advisors to help you through that step-by-step process. And it's not that difficult. Some people think, oh, franchising, it's a really tough thing. It's really not. It's starting a business with all the help you could ever imagine to make sure you succeed. So click the link and our advisors will help you through that simplified process.
That's excellent, Dan, and very confident. It gives me a lot of confidence too about being able to start a franchise and starting to reap the benefits and rewards that come from it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you, Dan, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Dan, for teaching us.
Thank you, and please subscribe and watch the next video.